Meals provided in schools offer direct benefits to the health and cognitive development of students by preventing or reversing the adverse health effects of poor feeding habits. Additionally, many core eating habits and behavioral patterns developed during childhood and adolescence often persist. And I think you know that more than I do, that persists through adulthood. Healthy food and improved nutrition interventions in schools therefore lays an appropriate foundation for a lifetime of healthy habits, which has obvious benefits for the life of individuals and society as a whole. Moreover, locally sourced school meals promote smallholder farmers' income and boost local economies with positive effects on entire national economies. The launch of this strategy, therefore, marks an important milestone in unlocking a wide range of benefits, not only to schools and students, but also to households and communities. Ladies and gentlemen, the 26th African Union Summit acknowledged the value of school feeding programs in a study commissioned by the Union. It was actually found that there was a 5% increase in attendance rates for both boys and girls in schools that offer meals. Students who received school meals scored higher on KCPE exams by about 7 percentage points than those without. Additionally, girls who received school meals finished primary school at a higher rate than those who did not. And I think that's a no-brainer, actually. I think it's extremely difficult to go to school or even focus without having had a single meal throughout the day. As for the boys, those who received school meals entered secondary school at a 10% higher rate than those without. Cumulatively, ladies and gentlemen, the core benefits that accrue from school feeding and nutritional interventions include the following: enhancing enrollment and attendance, reducing gender inequalities in schools, enhancing the ability of students to concentrate in class, eliminating hunger among school-going children, albeit partially, because it's just one meal a day, improving household savings by catering for lunch, and poverty reduction through purchase of foods from smallholder farmers. In appreciation of these benefits, the government of Kenya initiated school meals activities in 1980 in collaboration with the United Nations World Food Programme. Since then, school meals have remained a core development intervention to support the country's achievements in the sector, in the education sector. In 2008, the Ministry of Education developed a sustainable strategy together with partners for the handover of school meals program to government in order to make school meals more sustainable and less dependent on donor funding. In this regard, the government launched the Homegrown Schools Meals Program in 2009, through which the Ministry of Education transfers cash to schools for the purchase of food commodities. Through Homegrown School Meals Program, over 1 million school children in the arid and semi-arid areas are receiving hot midday meals while providing a market for local suppliers. WFP, ladies and gentlemen, is supporting another 500,000 children in the arid counties of Mandera, of Wajir, Garissa, and Turkana, as well as the slums of Nairobi, using a mix of cash and in-kind food assistance. As part of the sustainability strategy, the government is planning to take over the whole feeding program from the World Food Programme by the end of June this year, June 2018. But I'm happy to note that, in fact, our expectation is that the World Food Programme will continue to offer technical and material support when the need arises. The development of this strategy, ladies and gentlemen, we are launching today is part of a handover process and has been developed through extensive stakeholder consultations and analytical work by a multi-sectoral team. The strategy addresses key areas of concern for school meals in Kenya, namely hunger, malnutrition, and unfolding negative impacts among school-age children, need for sufficient and stable financial sources for school meals at all levels, school meals governance and management structure, transition to homegrown school meals models, adequate capacity development support for food procurers and smallholder farmers to provide suitable and diverse products for school meals, participation of governments at all levels, as well as communities and parents. And finally, infrastructure and environmental safety in our schools. These concerns are addressed in this strategy, which is a progressive document subject to revisions and improvements as the need arises. Together with CS Agriculture, as you just heard, we started a conversation triggered by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, which will culminate with food sufficiency in our schools. The program, which we expect to be called Feeding Ourselves, will hopefully be rolled out soon. It's a critical part of the food and nutrition security pillar of the Big Four. And we believe very strongly that through this collaboration, we should be able to do this much sooner than actually originally anticipated. We've also had a discussion with the PS, PS Early Learning and Basic Education, and agreed that we are going to use some of the resources that we have for infrastructure development to fence off the half acre, 1 acre that is required by the CS Agriculture, and to also address the issues he's raised of subsidizing the equipment that he will be providing. So we're looking forward to the launch of that program, and the conversations obviously now will be much broader than they were. It was a two-person conversation, but now we're going to roll it out so that our two ministries can start now a much more serious conversation going forward. I would also like to announce that the Ministry of Education has already transferred, and I think this is very important, 16 billion Kenya shillings as capitation for primary and secondary schools. And as you know, part of that money goes into the feeding program. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I call upon all of you, all stakeholders and development partners, to adopt this flagship strategy as the basis for all schools' meals and nutrition interventions to achieve the expected multidimensional outcomes and build a strong national program for our country.